All right, fashion brand founders. In this video, I cover the definitive fashion business guide on how to profitably scale your fashion brand with the contribution margin model. Who this is for? This is applicable for fashion brands at all levels, whether you're scaling to 100K per month, you're doing 300K per month, a million per month, etc. And ideally, you're running ads. If you already use a model like this, then this would be a good business or financial review for yourself to make sure everything's intact and perhaps you can still pick up a few insights. Because sometimes being reminded of things can be equally as important as learning new things. But this is especially for you if you're scaling your brand and making a lot of sales, so top line revenue, but you aren't making as much profit, what actually matters, as you like. Or worse, you're making zero profit after all your costs, or even worse, you're losing money, so you're burning cash. Or maybe you or your agency is hitting ROAS targets, but your online sales aren't increasing. Or you're spending too much on retargeting or remarketing, or you're spending way too much to get new customers. Well, here's the reality. Many fashion brand founders are very skilled at designing and product, but not as skilled in business side. It requires a lot of mental effort to be very skilled at both, which can be problematic because on one hand, you want to design and focus on the product, but on the other hand, if the business isn't scaling properly, then you aren't going anywhere. So this fashion business guide will help you get a clearer understanding of your fashion business as a whole, show you how to make more profit, and how to scale profitably no matter what with ads. Now, why listen to me? Well, I'm Brandon, one of the co-founders of Digiceptual. We specialize in scaling fashion brands for over 4 years now. We scale over 15 fashion brands. Here are some of them. And if you want to see over the 10 testimonials, video and written from fashion brands we work with, click the link in our bio if you're watching this on Instagram, or click the link in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube. The model we use to help scale the fashion brands we work with is the contribution margin model. So let's dive into it. Now, what is the contribution margin model? What are the benefits? Well, on the surface, it lets you know exactly what is happening in your business right now, the overall growth of the business, how healthy your cash flow is, and how much profit you're making. And this will help you objectively eliminate inefficiencies in your brands that's costing you money. So that's on a surface level. Now, when it comes to scaling, especially with marketing and ads, this model will help you build ROAS targets in line with your contribution margin, your MER, marketing efficiency ratio, and customer acquisition targets. And I'll cover what these terms mean shortly, which will allow you to scale without being limited by the budget mindset. So the budget mindset is along the lines of, hey, we allocate this much ad spend for this month, so we can only spend this much ad spend for this month. Instead, with the contribution margin model, the mindset is along the lines of, as long as we are hitting these specific or better numbers, spend as much as we can, right? So let's define terms real quick and why it's important first. Then in the next section, I'll cover how to use them. So what is contribution margin? Let's start off with that. Well, this is your contribution profit divided by your selling price. Now to calculate contribution profit first, this is how you do it. Take your selling price minus your COGS, so your cost of goods sold, minus online variable costs, so not fixed costs. Example of variable costs would be fulfillment, for example. So when I say fulfillment, it's all the costs that it takes to get the product from your warehouse to the customer. So this can be costs like shipping, 3PL, storage fees, Stripe fees, Shopify payment fees, etc. Remember, anything that's online variable costs, not fixed. Now, why is this important? Well, this is important because firstly, you can determine what contribution margin you're comfortable with scaling at on ads. Secondly, you can objectively see what's actually making you profit. Example, if you're comfortable with scaling at a contribution margin of X, but your contribution margin is lower than X, your online variable costs or your COGS are inefficient. Then you can ask yourself, if it's a COGS problem, what can I do to lower it or get better rates? In our opinion, COGS should be at least less than 50% of your selling price, which means gross margins should be above 50%. So that's a good hygiene standard. But ideally, gross margins should be 70% plus in fashion. If it's an online variable cost problem, ask yourself, which of these online variable costs are contributing to profit and which ones aren't? That's a good question to ask. If you're hitting your margin target of X, great. If it's higher than X, even better. Keep scaling and keep going. For fashion, the minimum contribution margin I suggest is 30%. It's a very conservative minimum contribution margin. I highly suggest it should be at least 30%, bare minimum. Now, what is MER, marketing efficiency ratio? Well, this is used to help you understand how efficient your marketing spend is. It's in the name, right? There are two main ways to measure MER. Either it's the percentage of your total marketing spend from your net sales, or the percentage of your total marketing spend from your gross sales. Now, why is this important? Well, this is important because if you are more aggressive with growth, percentage of your total marketing spend from your net sales is the one you want to use. If you are more conservative with growth, percentage of your total marketing spend from your gross sales is the one you want to use. We suggest sticking with net sales because net sales is the money you see in your bank account. 20% MER is a good minimum target to set. Obviously, if it's at a profit, 30% is where you want to scale at, right? Now, third, what are customer acquisition targets, so CPA? This is how much it costs to get a new customer in the whole business, not just ad costs. Now, why is this important? Well, you use this number to calculate two things: how profitable you are from the first order of a new customer, how profitable you are from your LTV, your customer lifetime value. Now you can determine how much you're willing to spend to get a new customer while hitting your goals and while being profitable by knowing these two numbers. For example, if you want to make more profit on the first order, your spend will typically be lowered compared to someone who just wants to break even on the first order and focus on being profitable off LTV. So now in fashion, we believe it is absolutely key to be profitable on the first order. So our ad strategies focuses on this. The reason why is because of what we call customer-driven growth, meaning by being profitable from the first order of a new customer, that profit is then reinvested to get more new customers over and over again. So basically, your new customers are paying for more new customers, if that makes sense. This doesn't mean we should neglect retargeting, but it shows you how important it is to get new customers into your brand. We spend on average 96% of ad spend to get new customers and 4% on retargeting on average. One of the reasons for this is there are infinitely more strangers than existing customers. So by understanding CPA targets, we can scale infinitely and profitably, quote unquote, by getting new customers. So now that you understand what these numbers are and why they are important, so the contribution margin, MER, and new customer CPA, here's how to use the contribution margin model. Now, here are some action steps you can do right now to implement this. Now, there are no set rules for this because the numbers will be determined by your specific situation, your goals, and what you're comfortable with. So for contribution margin, calculate what your current contribution margin is, like how I shared earlier. Then determine what contribution margin you are comfortable with scaling at. Then evaluate if you're currently hitting the target you want. If not, something in your variable cost isn't contributing to profit, or your COGS is too high. If it's COGS, find a way to get it lower. If it's a variable cost, either make them efficient or cut it out. Usually the answer is to cut it out. In my opinion, it's better to cut something out that doesn't work than to try to make it efficient to force it to work, right? Now, if you want to aim for a minimum 30% contribution margin, which is what we suggest, see if yours is currently at it or above it. If not, you need to make some changes to your cost to be more profitable. Now, for MER, first determine if you want to be more aggressive with growth or not as aggressive. Our suggestion is to stick with net sales because, again, that's money in your bank account. This decision can be made clear based on your contribution margin because if it's currently on target or better, it means you're making good profit, which means you can be more aggressive with growth, which means your MER can be 20% and 30% and more, which means you can spend as much as you want as long as you are at least hitting your contribution margin target. You see how everything is coming together. All right, this goes back to switching from the budget mindset to the contribution margin model mindset, as I call it. If it's vice versa, meaning your contribution margin is below 30%, be ruthlessly efficient with efficiency and get your contribution margin back to 30% minimum, or your brand's in for a slow death. At scale, you need to be 30% and more. Now, for customer acquisition targets, so CPA, since our strategy focuses on being profitable on the first order for customer-driven growth, action steps are based on this, right? Because this is what we do. We practice what we preach. First, calculate what your current CPA is. Then calculate how profitable you are from the first order with your current CPA. Then determine if the profit you're making with this CPA aligns with your contribution margin targets. If not, something in your marketing is inefficient. It could be that you're spending way too much on ads to get a customer, or the ad strategy is off. It could be that you're burning money on influencer marketing and not getting a positive return. That's up to you and your team to diagnose and fix that. Fix this so your CPA is aligned with your contribution margin target so you can scale aggressively and make more profit. The bottom line is, by using the contribution margin model, you know exactly at one glance where your business is currently at, and if you're on target to your goals, you're pretty much able to guarantee profit for your fashion brand, make more profit for your brand, and you're able to outscale your competitors with ads. It may take some time out of your day to do this, and it may even seem boring, but getting this right can make a tremendous difference in your business. Bonus, contribution model Google Sheet. As a bonus for committing your attention to this topic, you can make a free copy of a contribution model sheet that we use ourselves internally. So if you're watching this on Instagram, DM us to get the link to the sheet. I'll also have it in the comments. So if you just want to copy and paste a comment and put it in your, just paste it somewhere that works too. If you watch this on YouTube, it's in the video description below. So here's how it looks like. So it has the basic structure of a fashion business and is plug and play, meaning you can plug numbers in and it will automatically calculate the numbers. If you or someone on your team is a Google Sheet wizard, feel free to edit your own copy internally. So for example, here, you see the COGS. So this is contribution margin calculation. Here's like calculating a CPA target, and here's marketing efficiency ratio. So for example, I'll just plug in some numbers. Let's say your product cost is $50, for example. And then, so it's like total COGS is $57, let's say $56, right? So you see it populates here. Let's say you're selling this for, I don't know, $200, right? So now your gross profit is 72%, like that's really good, right? And then other variable costs. So this stuff, let's say duties $1, sales tax, let's just usually sample numbers, right? But I just want to show you like, hey, if I change this, you see how it changes here? Everything is automatic. And then it automatically reflects over here. Your contribution margin. So you can see, okay, contribution profit is $107. The contribution margin is 54%. So you can see right here, that's the contribution margin. It's above 30%. Okay, pretty good. So, but you can also see how it changes the max CPA target. So let's say I change product cost to like $100. You see how that just changed? Like everything changes and is all linked together. So you just gotta play around with the sheet if you like. So the ones that are highlighted in color, these are the ones you can change. So it just takes some practice and playing around. So you can see how, like if you look on here, if I change product cost back to $50, you'll see how the max CPA changes. You see how it changes? Just like that. So these are for you to determine and play around, and everything's all automated. Right, so you'll automatically see what your contribution margin is, your MER, your CPA, so you can make accurate decisions quickly. So you just run calculations here yourself or with your team, and boom, it just spits out answers and numbers. So if you like more actionable fashion content like this to help scale your fashion brand, check out the rest of the videos we have on social media. If you're interested in working with us, click the link in our bio to book a call with us if you're on Instagram, or click the link in the video description as a Calendly link if you're watching this on YouTube, and I'll see you in the next one.